fix your business case. Think about how you earn money and how you can earn money by delivering better projects faster. And with this, everything can follow. And all the frustration that we digital leaders in the industry have, the root cause is what we work for businesses with the wrong business model behind it, or an outdated business model that is not compatible with the digital way. We had one project with a wood construction company where we used these automatic calculated walls from the abstract BIM and calculated the production ready wall assembly inside of these volumes. So basically we could have sent this to the machine to produce it. Only fully automated. So basically the architect only would have to draw a layout like in a very early design phase, press a button, a system is applied to it, and the system has all the logic already inside for production. Doable. It's expensive to do it. So it's again a question of the business case behind it. Do you have the sales power to get enough projects to do something like that? It's not a technological problem. It's a sales problem. And I think that's the biggest problem we're having in the industry. We don't know how to sell our services.
Hi, Simon. Welcome to the Digital Construction Podcast. How are you today?
Hi, thanks. I'm very fine, and thank you for the invitation.
In this episode, we sit down with Simon Dilhas, better known as the BIM Pirate. Simon challenges conventional BIM practices and pushes for human-centered, automation-driven approach to digital transformation. We will explore why he became the BIM Pirate, what's broken in BIM, and how to interact with clients effectively. I'm very excited for this episode, but before we start, Simon, I have a nice breaker for you. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received in your career?
That's a good question. I think it was at the beginning of my career, and I did go to a meditation retreat, and where the teacher, he said, Simon, I hope you won't get successful too fast.
Interesting.
And I thought about it and thought, what's going on here? But the more I thought about it, the more I understood what he meant. So I wouldn't have done all the different things I'm doing now if I've become successful right at the beginning of my career.
And why do you think so? Why do you think that would be different?
Because I did go through so many different steps. I learned so much on the way. And I mean, I've probably, as every architect after university, you think you know everything, the world just waited for you, and now you're ready to show the world how construction works, what good architecture is.
Yeah, sometimes you have to go through a little bit of pain. Huh?
Yes, exactly. And I think that helps.
Yeah, I was listening. Yeah, I was listening to an interview of the founder of NVIDIA, and he said that it's very important to experience pain in order to be successful. So that's probably aligned with that.
Yeah, probably, yes.
Okay, that's great. That's a pretty good piece of advice. And on the internet, on LinkedIn in particular, you are very famous as the BIM Pirate. And I think it will be very interesting to share with the audience why did you take on the identity of the BIM Pirate? And if people haven't seen it, just search it on LinkedIn. It's very interesting, very nice visuals. But why did you find this nickname, and what's the story behind it?
Yeah, sure. So I think the BIM Pirate, he stands for this rebellious spirit. And yeah, BIM very much needs it, or needed it, because BIM becomes into a own industry that is a little bit decoupled from real value creation in projects. And that's where the BIM Pirate fights against this wrong direction. And yeah, the story behind the BIM Pirate, it's actually, I was laying in bed with my wife and she was talking about the pirates who just repeat what others saying and have no own opinion and so on and so on. And after some time I thought, or I told her, you're not talking about pirates, you're talking about parrots. But that's how this BIM Pirate story or character was born. Because when we said, yeah, but your industry, she's working in pharma, and my industry, I'm working in construction. We need more pirates, not parrots. And yeah, BIM Pirate was born.
Yeah, that's an interesting story, and yeah, your content on LinkedIn is very interesting. You really challenge the norm, and I can feel a little bit of frustration about the being around the BIM industry from your point of view. But what frustrates you the most about how BIM is being applied today?
Yeah. Mostly I see two trends. One trend is a BIM as this extra thing on the project. So just deliver the project and do the BIM on top. And this is not value creation. This is just busy work.
Mm.
And yeah, a little bit connected to this is this development of having BIM consultancies, external BIM modelers, but basically support this narrative of, yeah, we do the project and BIM on top. And this is not a good development because it increases overhead, it increases waste, and doesn't really help the project.
Yeah, it's a very good point. I think I've heard once somebody saying nobody has ever asked anyone to build BIM. It was not requested, and now we found all of us thinking about it, talking about it, and developing BIM. But there is certainly good reasons why we do it. But if you could,
Definitely,
yeah,
yes.
yeah. No, go ahead. So
No, I'm a big fan of BIM and of technology, but we have to use it intelligently and not just repeat what we did before now with other technical tools in 3D. It doesn't make any sense. It's like a
yeah,
car that looks like a coach.
yeah, good point. And I think you'll probably, if you have a chance to correct a few things about BIM, there is probably a long list. But if you could correct one major misconception about BIM, what would it be?
Oh, yeah, this. I have two, sorry. One is BIM as a software. So BIM is not a software. It's a way of working together. And the other one, the big misconception is that you can see BIM separate from the business model, or that you can see digitalization, and BIM is just a term that is often used for digitalization of the industry. And you can't digitize without thinking about the business model. And this is actually, I think, is the biggest barrier for adoption and why we're struggling so much. Shall I extend a little bit on this, what I
Yeah,
mean?
definitely. Go
Okay.
ahead. It's your podcast.
Okay. No, so most companies earn money for selling time.
Mm.
That's the business model. And what's your incentive of spending less time doing something if you sell your time?
Yeah, it's true.
Yes. But if you do it clever, I think there's a huge opportunity here.
That's a very good point. I really want to highlight this. I want to repeat this. This is a business, this is an industry where people are paid for the time that they spend on the tools, and we deploy BIM to save time and improve quality potentially, but there is no incentive in saving time.
Yes.
It's a nonsense.
Yes, exactly. Or it just shows what's wrong with the industry, or that we are so really bad salespeople, but we don't manage to sell the value we are providing. But we have to fall back on selling time. That's the easiest thing to measure.
Yeah, it's probably what has been measured for a long time when it was about engineering, but now that's probably the close. Yeah, it's really sad that we are facing this transition and it doesn't work. And in terms of like being used as a word to mean digital, I really hear you because this podcast is called the Digital Construction Podcast,
Yes.
and we always talk about BIM.
Yeah, and yeah, hopefully in 10 years we don't talk about BIM anymore.
Hopefully.
Hopefully it's just transition time now.
Yeah, definitely. Another important aspect is the people factor in the when we think about digital transformation and how do
Mm.
we do this digital transformation the right way. And from I know that you work with so many companies as a consultant, as an advisor, and from your point of view, how should companies realistically approach digital transformation?
Mhm. So the usual way how we do it and how we shouldn't do it is we buy a software, either one. Two, we hire some junior or intern and tell him you are in charge of digital transformation. Both won't work. So when I work with a company, I talk with the senior management. And instead of writing a big strategy paper or whatever, we just have one workshop where we talk about or where we explore what are the business problems you are facing at the moment. What are the challenges you are facing at the moment? And when we think about means, how to change this. And yes, digital aspects play a role in it, but very often it's not the first thing we do. So for example, I work with a structural engineering company, and we started out of how to define work packages better. So a very basic, but once we have this part, we are ready to move on and use more digital means.
Mm.
But start with the
Yeah.
basics.
Yeah, for most companies that need to start to think about digital transformation, you're right. You need to get the basic right, and the people factor is also very important. And
Yes.
when you see these companies, what's the biggest mistakes that organizations make when they try to go digital?
Yeah, really thinking that one technology will solve it all, be it BIM or AI, and when everything is focused on this. And what we should do is developing a mindset to be able to iterate quicker, because technology is moving so fast. The tools that we are using now, in 5 years, we will be different. So maybe even in 2 years, it's accelerating in an unbelievable speed. And so if you manage as a company to create a mindset in the people so that they can adapt quickly, iterate, learn, exchange parts of the software landscape, and build a workflow, build a process that saves them time. And if we have this mindset, we are unbeatable.
Yeah, definitely. And I was thinking about the fact that sometimes people, managers, they want to hire AI experts.
Yeah.
And I was reflecting on the fact that I don't know if you've heard this concept of spending 10,000 hours on something before you become an expert at it. And if you do a
Yes.
calculation of how many days is 10,000 hours, even if you don't sleep, it's probably like longer than 1 year. And then if you then realize how quickly AI changes, it is
Yeah.
impossible for a person to spend the time to be an expert in it, because by the time they've learned it, it's already different.
Yeah.
So, but when we think about this, these companies, they need to achieve some quick win. They probably
Mm,
come to you with, they want to see a quick change because maybe they hire you, they want to see an immediate change. But how do you balance the quick wins
mm.
with a long-term transformation for those businesses?
Actually, we try to identify some very simple steps, something that only takes 2 hours to implement. That's how we begin. And it's less about what we achieve in this small step and more about this mindset and this skill we are building. So, for example, let's say an architectural company are just doing a quantity takeoff for paintwork. Let's optimize this process. So we really try to break it down to very simple, very small processes. And then the collection of these small processes is a gain in efficiency. So
Yeah.
basically my recipe is first try to be more effective. So do the right things. And when we know what are the right things, then start with the ones that are very easy to implement. And then step by step, you can implement them, always knowing that what you do now will be different after 2 or 3 iterations. But we as engineers, we always want to have the perfect solution. And so often we don't start doing or just trying, experimenting, learning. And this is what we are trying, or what I'm trying in the companies, to create this learning mindset where it's fine to do mistake or errors or mistakes, but we don't hurt. It's a small experiment. Worst case, you do your paint tender by hand as you did it before. And when, you wasted a few hours. So what?
Yeah, good point. And you sometimes talk about um, helping your clients and ask for BIM
Mhm.
fees without even mentioning the word BIM,
Yeah.
in the context of like you are a BIM consultant and you are helping these companies embed BIM processes. But how can your clients demand BIM in
Mm.
their contract without actually without even using the word BIM?
Mm. Yeah, basically it goes back as a client, you don't care how people do the work. You only care about the result. So I don't care if the architect draws by hand or by CAD or with BIM tools. If the result is good, if I get a good building and if I get the documentation that I need in the quality I need, then everything is fine. So what I tell the clients is, we define your data needs. Only what you need for handover or for your digital quality assurance processes. And when we just say, look, this is what you have to deliver. And we don't care how you do it, but this is what we need to do our work.
It's interesting. So you basically focus on outcomes.
Yes.
Um, and then in this case, what outcomes should clients be prioritizing in their project's requirements?
Mhm. So I learned with the space, so the room, everything that is between the walls, clients can do a lot of things already. So, and I mean, BIM to facility management, get a room, get maybe 10 attributes, and it's already better than everything that you get now, all these boxes of documents and so on. So often you don't need a lot.
Interesting. Yeah, I also, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. So basically start with the simple things again. Don't tell the other person what we have to do and how we have to work. Just tell them what you need, and they can figure out the best way to deliver it.
Yeah, that's good. And do you see your clients becoming more and more digitally literate, or is the gap widening at the moment?
The gap is widening a lot. So, I mean, interestingly, I work a lot with public clients. So I think they have a big interest in changing what we get, because we operate the buildings by themselves as well, and we have some kind of cost pressure. I see that general contractors are very interested in changing, because they are part of, or they're in the whole value chain from planning to construction. So they see that they can improve their work. What I don't see is the companies who only operate in their silo. There are very few who are really interested in digitalizing their processes. So many architects just look at their architecture. Many engineers only look at engineering. Many investors only say, yeah, at the beginning I say I need a house. At the end, I get the house. Everything in between, I don't care.
Yeah, interesting. It's also very interesting to see how BIM or digital practices are applied in different parts of the world. So you're in Switzerland at the moment, even if you are originally from Austria. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. One of the things that you often talk about in your post is the importance of human to human communication. And why do you believe it's important, and what do you believe is critical in delivering projects with BIM in particular, and why?
Because we are so bad at it. No, what I mean with it is, we engineers and architects, we forgot to talk to clients in a normal way. So let me give you an example. I teach at a university and the pupils were all professionals who are coming in the class. So it's 5 days. And at the end of these 5 days, we do an exercise. I tell them, you are a team of engineers, architects, construction company. Well, the client, he kicked out the architect that worked on the project before. You take over, and you got the project only because you promised the client that in 3 weeks you have everything on the table so that he can take all the decisions necessary, so that he can go abroad to the Himalaya and can't be contacted for another year, but you can finish the project. So that's the setting. And so one person is playing the client and the other one's the team. And it always starts in the same way. The architect starts drawing, the engineers are sitting together and are bored, and the client is just accepting what's going on. Then after some time, the architect says, okay, let's have a meeting. Maybe he takes the other people with him, maybe he does the meeting alone. And when we talk about the project, maybe he shows the plans he discovered, but we never talk about what do you need? What is important for you? Why did you kick out the former architect? Just these very basic questions every human would ask. But we are so much focused on our engineering, our craft, what we learned, we forget about these human things. And this creates so much waste.
It is true. It is true. It's about getting the simple communication right between people. But from your point of view, how can project teams simplify the way they share information? Because they need to speak, but is there anything else they can do?
I think if we really speak and ask the question, what do you need to do your work? Or on the other direction, I need this or that to do my work. And the answer what we usually give is, I need all the plans, everything ready, and when I start my work. But that's bullshit. We're working iteratively. So maybe a very good example from the beginning of my career that drove me crazy. We were working together with a mechanical engineer, and I wanted to know from him the duct sizes for a high-rise building. So, but I could design my core. And the client, he was shy, and he liked to come to the office and change everything. So the boardroom moving from the basement to the top of the floor and so on. So the engineer always told me, I need a layout to tell you the duct sizes. And I told him, I need your duct sizes to start doing the layout. And like this, we were in an endless loop and we couldn't break it. But what I wanted was just a reasonable estimation so that I could continue a hypothesis, but I continue my creative work with the client, because the error ratio was very important for him. And he was already in this mindset of, I want to do the perfect solution. So we were in different phases. So iterative, exploring with the client, what do you really mean, versus engineering, developing one solution. And at this time, I wasn't able to solve this problem with him. So I didn't have the skill set to talk about it.
You touched a very interesting point about the gap between people in different disciplines, right? Because one come with a point of view, another one has a different point of view, and sometimes they don't communicate. But from your point of view, what are some practical steps that leaders can take to bridge the silo between different disciplines?
Yeah, really asking, what do you need? Or saying, I need this. And not, I need everything, but look, I need to do this or that. And for this, it would be nice to have the room areas. Can you provide a list with the area, the height, and the use? And with this, I already can do my estimated ventilation calculations, whatever. So really break it down. Don't assume that the other person knows what you need, or
probably they don't know.
No, of course not. It's super complex, and the more specialities we have, the more we need to talk.
Yeah, definitely. So we've been talking about the importance of the communication between humans, right? So human to human, but all of these humans are working with computers, with machines.
Yes.
And sometimes it gets hard even to understand how to interact with machines in a proper and efficient way. So for example, I'm thinking about people have to understand the data that is in this BIM project. So how do they turn this data into insights that they can actually use? But how do you see the relationship between people and machines evolving in our industry.
Yeah. Again, one of the topics where our communication needs to get better. So machines or automations are great. So consistent input, run an automation, you get a consistent output. Very simple. And most of the time we fail because the input we have is not consistent enough. So we spend hours or days normalizing the input. A quantity surveyor, what is his job? He's redrawing on a PDF everything what is already here.
Yeah, it's paid for the time, right?
And number one, he's paid for the time. And number two, he doesn't trust what he gets.
True.
And he is not able to talk about what he really needs because he never thought about it. He's so much into his way of working, how he always did it. And so really understand your process, when you can define what are the input requirements and when you can talk about these ones to the person who is providing the data. And I mean, we started Abstract BIM with this idea, what is the minimum you need to do a thermal simulation or a cost calculation? And the minimum is when you have the spaces and where use, you can calculate so much around it. So interior wall is just the emptiness between two spaces. So nobody has to draw a wall. You can calculate it. When you calculate it, this wall knows it's between two spaces with their use. And in Switzerland, a staircase wall, usually it's a concrete wall. So with fire protection, 90 minutes, and sound protection, and so on, and so on, and so on. So just by having very simple information, you can automate so much on top of it. And the moment you understand this, your whole practice can change. So coming back from this linear process of somebody draws everything, when the quantity surveyor comes, measures everything, towards I do a layout, I run the algorithm, I get the quantities back, I connect them to my cost calculation, I go to the client and tell him, look, it costs so much. Let's now optimize. And this feedback circle can be 10 minutes if you do it clever, instead of 6 months maybe for one phase. So it has
definitely.
a huge impact.
Definitely. And when we think about the communication human versus machine, there is also this interesting part, which is the non-technical people, the non-technical stakeholders that are involved, right? And they may want to use BIM data at some point. And how do you think we can make BIM data truly usable for these non-technical stakeholders?
Yeah, that's a very important role. So actually, I think we can learn a lot from the past. When we drew a plan, we prepared a plan for somebody. So it was a filtered view on all the data. And with the BIM model, we have to do the same. So let's say when you're on the construction site and you just give the construction managers, the construction people, the whole BIM model and tell them, yeah, you zoom in and here and click wherever, we say, yeah, you crazy. But when you prepare a view where we only see what we need, we only see the concrete work we have to do, on this day, with one click, then we're perfectly fine and happy. So you really have to think how to prepare the data for the stakeholder. And not just hand over all the data and say, here, be happy, take whatever you need.
And can you share with us an example of how good human-to-machine communication improved the project outcome?
Mhm. Yeah, I mentioned this abstract BIM workflow with the cost before, and we had one project, for example, with a general contractor, where we got the plans when we did a simple 3D model based on the plans, just the spaces and the windows, did run it through the process, and after 3 hours, he got all the quantities for his bid. So work where he would have spent 2 weeks in 3 hours.
Yeah, it's pretty
Meaning he had
satisfying.
2 more weeks to improve his offer.
Yeah, definitely. And we touched on human-to-human communication. Then we said, yeah, but there is also this human-to-machine communication.
Mhm.
And finally, there is the machine-to-machine communication, which
Mhm.
often leads to automation and workflow efficiency or integration of software across different software platforms.
Mhm.
From your point of view, like how important is
Um,
machine-to-machine communication in creating these digital integrations?
I think for the future, it will become more and more crucial. But first, we have to manage the human machine. Because when we know this, we can start automating more and more of these workflows and connecting them. And really deciding as well when not to connect. When do we have to have a human in the loop for quality assurance? So I think it's really about process design to
And
work with them.
yeah, sometimes like when you think about the communication between one machine and another machine or one software and another software, we found sometimes inefficiencies. But what are these inefficiencies today is where one system doesn't talk to another system.
Yeah, I mean, usually, or in usual projects, we don't have machine-to-machine communication, I would say. So it's not often that we can really exchange data seamlessly in our industry. I have one example from wood construction companies who started 10 years ago to send their CAD files to the wood provider. And he had the same program and just send it to the machine and wait it cut it. So this is one of the good examples how it could work.
Yeah, and we often debate between choosing open standards
Mhm.
versus vendor lock-in. So you pick a software and you stick with that. Do you have a preference between choosing one vendor and then using the entire ecosystem of that vendor versus using open standards?
So I'm clearly on the side of open standards. I mean, as a pirate, you have to be.
Yeah, to be, yeah.
Um, no, actually, I think it's a myth to believe that all the different software tools that one company did buy together work seamlessly. So I don't want to tell any names now, but everybody knows what I'm talking about. It just doesn't work. These are all separate profit centers, and it doesn't matter if we belong to one company or not. We're not integrated better than different software tools from different companies. And there's not necessarily a business case behind it to integrate them better.
Yeah,
So
it's a real pain point in the industry.
yes, but I think we can learn a lot from other industries. So really go to the basics. So CSV file, great for data exchange, secure for the future. I mean, IFC, it's not the best file format, but it's a great ontology. It's a text format. It will be readable in 20 years. So quite future-proof. So much better than a closed system that updates every 2 or 3 years, and where you can't open an old version in 5 years.
That's incredible, huh?
Yeah. So
Yeah,
for me, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, it's incredible. The longevity of these files. You've been working on a project, 3 years later, you can't open the file. Incredible. It's
Yes.
pretty bad.
Yes.
And yeah, and thinking about the future of BIM and digital construction, like, what do you hope to see change in the way BIM is practiced in the next 5 years or so?
Yeah. So I hope in 5 to 10 years we don't talk about BIM anymore. That's number one. That's my big hope. So the BIM Pirate can relax somewhere on his island in peace. Go back to doing projects again, maybe. That's the big hope. Realistically speaking, I don't think it will happen. But what I see is that we start connecting better. We start using open standards. Speckle, for example, I think it's a great initiative what we started. And
Yeah, definitely.
I think stuff like that will help. So reducing the silos and more thinking about the flow of information. This will be the topic of the next 5-10 years.
Yeah, hopefully. And another big topic is automation. And how far do you think automation can really take us in construction?
Very, very far. I think what is technological possible, even without talking about AI, just usual automation with tools available 20 years ago. You could do so much. We had one project with a wood construction company where we used these automatic calculated walls from the abstract BIM and calculated the production ready wall assembly inside of these volumes. So basically we could have sent this to the machine to produce it. Only fully automated. So basically the architect only would have to draw a layout like in a very early design phase, press a button, a system is applied to it, and the system has all the logic already inside for production. Doable. It's expensive to do it. So it's again a question of the business case behind it.
Mm.
Do you have the sales power to get enough projects to do something like that? It's not a technological problem. It's a sales problem.
Yeah, I really like your point of view when you talk about really the sales problem related to BIM. Is often people think that some of these problems are technological problem, but really it's more about how you sell something. We need to improve on that.
Mm. And I think that's the biggest problem we're having in the industry. We don't know how to sell our services.
Yeah, and I guess that leads to my last question for today, which is, if you have one message for today's digital leaders, what would it be?
Yeah, I think it's really this fix your business case. Think about how you earn money and how you can earn money by delivering better projects faster. And with this, everything can follow. And all the frustration that we digital leaders in the industry have. The root cause is what we work for businesses with the wrong business model behind it, or an outdated business model that is not compatible with the digital way.
Yeah, it's a very good point. And thank you very much for today's episode. We are at the end. If people want to reach out to you, where can they find you? Where can they collaborate with you and reach out to you?
So the easiest way is always LinkedIn, where search for the BIM Pirate on LinkedIn, search for Simon Dilhas on LinkedIn, send me a connection request. I usually accept it if it's not a sales pitch, and we can start a conversation. You can reach me by email, simon.dilhas@bimpirate.com. You can reach me through my company, that's Abstract Limited. So the webpage is abstractbim.com. So if you want to, you will find ways to find me. I'm quite accessible.
Yeah, you're quite visible, especially on LinkedIn. Thank you very much today, Simon, for bringing the spirit of the BIM Pirate to today's conversation. I really enjoyed the episode with you. Have a great day.
Thank you for the